Am I the a-hole for forcing my daughter to find her own way to a wedding because of what she was wearing? Am I the a-hole for going home after my boyfriend and his family kept me waiting outside his room at the hospital? Am I the a-hole for not making my daughter invite special needs kid to her birthday? Am I the a-hole for forcing my daughter to find her own way to a wedding because of what she was wearing? My wife and I have three daughters, 19, 24, and 28. Our youngest, Jill, just started community college this year, while our two oldest have moved away to start their careers. Jill still lives with my wife and I as she is attending college locally, and this saves her money. This past weekend, we were invited to my niece's and goddaughter wedding a couple hours away. The dress code was semi-formal, so men were expected to wear suits and women in dresses. As we were getting ready to leave, Jill was taking her sweet time getting ready, and I was kind of nagging at her to get going. She had been out late the night before with friends, and I'm sure she was feeling the effects of that. When she was finally ready to go, she was wearing some kind of black spaghetti strap halter top things with leggings. I told her that was not appropriate outfit for her cousin's wedding and that she needs to change into something else. She told me she doesn't have anything else to wear and that I don't get to police what she's wearing. I told her that judging by the amount of dirty clothes on her floor and in her closet, she clearly has other options. She just didn't plan ahead enough to figure something out. I told her it was disrespectful to her cousin, the bride, to wear something too revealing and tacky to their wedding. Jill called me a jerk and said no one is going to care what she's wearing, and if people focus on her clothes more than the bride, that's their problem, not hers. I told her in that case, how she is getting to the wedding is her problem, not mine. She asked what that meant, and I told her that if that's what she wants to wear, she is going to have to find her own way to the wedding because I am not going to arrive with my daughter looking like she is about to hit a club at 2 a.m. instead of attend her cousin's wedding. My wife chimed in at this point and told us both to calm down. She told me I was being overbearing, but also told Jill that she did not agree with her choice of attire either, and reminded her this is a semi-formal event. She told Jill she would help her find a different option that would be better suited for this. Jill scoffed at that and went to her room and closed the door. I went and knocked and told her she has 15 minutes to be ready or we are leaving without her. She yelled at me that I was being an a-hole, so I went outside to wait, and after 20 minutes I went inside, and Jill was still in her room. I told my wife that I am leaving and she can either come with me now or her and Jill can figure out their own plans. My wife asked what Jill is supposed to do and I said she can take an Uber for all I care at this point. My wife reluctantly left with me and I could tell she felt guilty about the whole thing. Jill ended up not coming to the wedding and both her and my wife blame me for it. I don't think I was the a-hole here though.
I agree. It's incredibly disrespectful because the bride and groom, or their family, are paying for Jill to have a good time. A nice meal, cake, a DJ so she can dance, drinks, likely some kind of favor, not to mention a venue. Since Jill likely got the invite as a part of a family invite to OP, she is not even on the hook for a gift. Literally the only thing she has to do is follow the dress code. Well, I know there are plenty of people for whom their wedding day is all about them. For my husband and I, and many of our friends when they planned their weddings, we thought of our wedding in terms of what our guests would enjoy. Yes, we clearly wanted it to be an expression of us. But we picked so many things keeping our guests at the forefront of our decisions. After all, it is a group of the people whom you love and care about the most. Why wouldn't you want them to have an absolute blast? To have put in all that planning work and have someone who had the option to follow the dress code choose not to in such a blatant way, it's so disrespectful. Listen, I am an out and proud feminist, and I will always rail against people policing and picking apart the type of clothing that women choose to wear. That being said, a person hosting a private event has every right to adopt a dress code, and if you don't want to listen to that dress code, then you don't have to go to the event. It is disrespectful to show up dressed inappropriately. You absolutely did the right thing, AmItheA. Although your daughter may not appreciate it at the moment, you saved her from looking like an idiot and embarrassing herself. AmItheA. It's a privately paid for hosted event with a dress code. Weddings are sentimental and mean a lot to the family on the day, and they will remember how people acted, what they wore. It's an honor to be invited to a special event like a wedding, and they are paying for you to be there. Feed you have a good time. The least someone can do is show up in dress code. The time for wearing whatever she wants is when you are deciding between a pantsuit or a dress. You make sure she is comfortable expressing herself within the dress code, and don't force her to dress in a frilly princess outfit if she doesn't want to. Blowing off the dress code isn't freedom of expression, it's just plain rude. You're not wrong, the mom's intervention might well have had the better outcome. But at the same time, the mom is treating her daughter like a 13-year-old, not a 19-year-old. And stomping up to sulk in her room is certainly more age appropriate to 13 than 19. So mom's response does sound like enabling behavior. The issue here is that 18 to 21 is a gray zone that is neither child nor adult. And people do not mature in lockstep and on schedule. Some could well be fully autonomous adults at 16, while others are still childish at 22. 18 is a legal construct, not a developmental milestone. So perhaps little girl is on the slow side and will get there when she gets there. But mom needs to figure out how to nudge her forward, not let her remain stuck in adolescence with the rest of the family catering to her whims, because the wider adult world will not accept her behavior at this age. I think dad's response was the correct one: dress within socially expected norms if she wanted to come with him. That's not hard, not an undue burden, and the choice remains hers.
Am I the a-hole for going home after my boyfriend and his family kept me waiting outside his room at the hospital? A female 29 boyfriend, a male 32 of 5 years, had an accident days ago and was admitted to the hospital. He has a knee injury, nothing too serious. On his third day at the hospital, I got off work and went to visit him. When I arrived, his family was there too. I was told to go stand outside of the room by his family after I entered the room. I couldn't even speak to him and he was 100% awake and saw me. I was standing there in the hallway with them completely ignoring me for 3 hours straight. After waiting for that long, I just walked out without saying a word since I didn't even think they acknowledged my presence. I went home feeling upset and his mom called to scold me for leaving like that. When I opened up to her about how felt, I was constantly ignored and how felt like my presence wasn't important since they told me to wait outside. She was shocked, telling me this isn't about me. My boyfriend just got out of a horrible situation and I should be happy and feel grateful for getting him back instead of sulking and craving attention. She explained that my boyfriend was on medication and went on about how me leaving like that painted me in a bad light. She shamed, saying I should feel ashamed of myself for not giving my boyfriend the support he obviously needed, and brought an overall negative energy to the rest of the worried family members. She made me feel absolutely guilty even though she was the one who requested a wait outside, but I'm not sure whether I did the right thing by leaving after waiting for 3 hours straight. Was I in the wrong for leaving? Should I have waited a bit longer?
There's got to be more to this story. I just don't believe you stood in a hallway for 3 hours while the rest of his family just moved around you without speaking or anything. That's really odd behavior if you're being honest and not embellishing here. Why on earth did you wait 3 hours then just leave? Never went in to see your guy, but after 3 hours, just dipped out. I'm not convinced this is how it all went down. It's all just very weird behavior from people who supposedly know you and don't have any issues with you dating their son. There's something missing here you're not telling us. In many places, the patient has to decide who is allowed to visit or who will be responsible for making important decisions if the patient is incapacitated. This is usually done when they are admitted, but it seems that boyfriend was most likely unconscious or unable to make coherent decisions after the accident. Since OP and boyfriend don't even live together, it makes sense that his mom or other family member would be his emergency contact. The hospital probably contacted his mom because she must be the person listed for that on his insurance. Yes, it sucks, but mom trumps girlfriend when it comes to these situations. The only person who would come before a parent or other family member would be a legal spouse. NTA you waited 3 hours and they, meaning Mil, knew you were there the entire time. I don't blame your BF if he was on meds, even if he saw you what was going on may not have registered. The mom treated you like that because she can. Because that's her little baby boy. And in her opinion you not being supportive enough of her son is a symptom of you not being good enough for her precious baby. That sucks, but you don't want a life with a guy like that because she'll always be in it. They were outrageously rude to you by making you wait in the hall for that length of time, and it was intentional. NTA, her story makes sense for a 15-minute wait. It's nonsense in regards to a 3-hour wait. The only people painted in a bad light are the selfish assholes who refuse to acknowledge that as his girlfriend, you should have been treated with basic human decency and kindness by being allowed a few minutes visit with your SO without having to stand silently in the hallway awaiting their convivence. MIL after the way you and your family treated me, you don't have a leg to stand on. You have made you and your family's opinion of me crystal clear, and I will keep that in mind from this point forward. I am thrilled that SO is on the mend, and while his recovery is absolutely not about me, what you and your family did yesterday was not okay. I will pray for you all in these trying times. BSH. It's your boyfriend of 5 years. You should have been a bit more insistent about seeing him. I would have went to toe with Satan himself if somebody told me I had to wait in the hall. 5 years isn't a new relationship where you don't know the in-laws and still want to impress them. At this point, y'all know each other well enough to be able to say, it's my turn. At 5 years, y'all's lives should be so entwined that there shouldn't be anything going on that you can't be part of unless you caused the accident through nefarious means and they're trying to get him away from you. They suck because of all the same reasons. Why did you just stand out in a hall? The nurses didn't ask you to go sit in a waiting room or something. Why didn't you push back against his mother?
Am I the a-hole for not making my daughter invite special needs kid to her birthday? My daughter is turning 7 and we're going to a movie and pizza for her party. At her school, the policy is all boys, girls, or the whole class. Some parents have gone around that, but I don't like the whole dynamic, so I'm making her stick to the school guidelines. She wants to invite her whole class. Here's where I might have messed up. When we were writing out the invitations, daughter asked me if we would have to invite Avery. Avery has autism and something else, and she's barely verbal, very hyperactive, and isn't potty trained. My daughter comes home with a story about something this kid did easily twice a week. She said she doesn't want everyone paying attention to Avery, like they always do at school. I thought about it and decided daughter doesn't have to invite her. I have nothing against the girl, but I respect my daughter's choice. Well, apparently, one of the other parents is friends with Avery's mom. And she complained to me when she said Avery didn't get an invitation. I told the other parent it wasn't malicious, but I do want my daughter to be able to enjoy her birthday party without having to always be inclusive. She must have passed this on because the girl's mom messaged me and said, "Thanks for reminding us yet again that we don't get invited to things." I apologized, but I stood firm. I really don't want to make my daughter be miserable at her own birthday party, especially since she didn't even get a party last year thanks to pandemic. But after the backlash I got, I have to wonder if I'm somehow missing a chance to teach my daughter not to discriminate. So, am I the a-hole?
Exactly, OP isn't Todd.H for not inviting the child, but for saying she's adhering to the school policy and then violating the entire spirit of the rule by excluding one child. I completely understand her daughter wanting to be the center of attention on her own day. Thus OP should have only invited her daughter's closest friends who she really wanted there, or invite them all, including Avery, but speak to Avery's parent about the whole diapers thing and being there if Avery acts out. Presumably Avery's parents would have appreciated the graciousness and are aware enough to know their daughter's behavior is disruptive and no one's obligated to tolerate it outside of school. Soft YTA to OP for the way she handled the situation. And OP still has time to rectify the mishap. Please fix it OP. This is tough for me. My very first birthday party I was turning 6 and we went to a Chuck E. Cheese style place. All the kids in my class were invited. Only one of the other parents stuck around out of the kids that arrived. We didn't know it at the time, but one of the girls had mental health issues. Her grandmother dropped her off, and this birthday is just lodged in my memory because of this girl. She blew the candles on my cake, opened all my presents, and cried on multiple indoor rides and slides, so we were no longer allowed to play in on them. I was absolutely miserable. We found out by 3rd grade that she had mental health issues and was transferred to another school because of it. I still don't think it's a good thing to not include Avery, but I do think if her parents will be there and make sure she is not the center of attention, it would make the difference. NTA. The age of 7 is when I recall getting frustrated with the fact that my mother would invite kids I did not want around at my birthday party. My 8th birthday was the last time as I broke down crying before my 9th birthday and told her I did not want someone I don't want to spend time with on my special day. Edit. YTA for inviting Everin but her. I missed that part the first time around. It was nothing malicious and she let it be. The kids I didn't want there weren't special needs, but that's besides the point. Avery's mom is hurting on her daughter's behalf. She definitely deserves empathy and compassion, but not at the extent of your daughter. If she doesn't want her there on the one day a year it's supposed to be about her, then you made the right choice. You both want what is best for your daughters. That school rule is also dumb. You can't dictate who the kids hang out with outside of school. Especially on a special occasion like a birthday, WTF. It doesn't matter if they're young. As long as your daughter is treating Avery with respect and as long as you show her to treat the girl like other kids, with accommodations where needed, then all is good. Make sure she's not being malicious when you're around, and that's the best you can do. I'm autistic and I'm not sure how I feel about this. Okay, firstly, I don't like that the school is trying to get involved with your children's birthday parties. I guess I can kind of see why you shouldn't hand out invitations in class cause it would make the other kids jealous, especially at that age. But otherwise, it's none of the school's business what you do outside of them, unless you're actively abusing your child. Second, it's a double-edged sword with inviting autistic kids to places. I was considered more normal than most autistic kids, but even still, kids could tell I was autistic and I got bullied a lot. Did it hurt that I didn't get invited to parties? Yeah, it did. But it also taught me what real friends are. Real friends are people who actually want you around and appreciate your company. True friendship can't be forced. And, also, parties for me as a kid, and even now, are a lot of times an overstimulating nightmare, even when I'm surrounded by my closest friends. I can't even imagine how it is for someone high support. Third, it's your daughter's party. She shouldn't have to be forced to interact with kids she doesn't want to on her day. Inviting someone out of pity is honestly more insulting than excluding them. So if you did give an invite to everyone but the autistic kid in front of her, then yeah, you're absolutely TA. And you're kind of tough for making her follow the school guidelines, except for the autistic kid. However, I'd say NTA for allowing your daughter to choose who can and can't come. Ultimately, it's about her. I'm on the fence about this one. It is a movie birthday party, which requires a child to be still, quiet, and not go to the bathroom for a couple hours, all of which Avery is apparently incapable of doing, so clueless would be a distraction, and I understand why your daughter wouldn't want that. Additionally, everyone saying your daughter is mad she won't be the center of attention I think is misunderstanding. The attention Avery gets isn't good attention. It's like when everyone is paying attention to the rando who wore white to a wedding, extremely distracting, and not because everyone is saying nice things about them. However, I do think it's flawed that you made her follow school rules except for this one person. You should have just let her invite only the people she really wanted instead of the whole class, and then I think this would be a total non-issue. These rules aren't new. I remember driving around dropping invites in mailboxes 13 plus years ago for my day parties, and for those addresses I didn't have, I had to smuggle the contraband into school to sneakily pass them out. Definitely got caught a couple times and given a warning by the teacher. I think I'm going to lean slightly to NTA, but I do think your execution was poor.